Yo, 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 what's happening, people? Okay, so time for another sit and spit, where I sit and spit about something on my mind. I'm going to get that to rhyme one of these days, but anyway. I want to talk about something I heard on a podcast. It was the Diary of a CEO podcast hosted by Stephen Bartlett, and it was two episodes. One where he was interviewing Busta Rhymes and one where he was interviewing Jordan Peterson. And they both said something that was interesting to me. Busta Rhymes talks about his need to be selfish, and Jordan Peterson said that focusing too much on yourself would lead to misery. And that's interesting to me for a few reasons. One is that I think, like, on the surface, it sounds like that they have two different opinions on it. But to me, to my mind and to my ears, it feels like they're saying the exact same thing, just in completely different ways. And I'm going to try and explain what I mean by that. But first, quick coffee check. This is a latte from Greg's, regular size. And I got like triple points because I can't remember why. Something to do with, like, I haven't bought from them for a minute. And they were like, yo, we'll give you triple points if you buy another coffee from us. I was like, or buy something else from us. And I was like, all right. So I've got triple points, which means my next coffee's free, which is always a good thing. Anyway. So, let's talk about what was said. So yeah, to my mind, it feels like they're saying the exact same thing, just in completely different ways. And here's what I mean by this. So, to me, I feel like you do have to be selfish. And you have to be selfish because you're always going to be the most important person in your life. You know, whether you got kids or not, whether your parents are still here or not, if you've got brothers, sisters, your cousins, your best friend, your whole life, all of that. People who depend on you, people at your workplace, people that you see around, you're always going to be the most important person in your life. And the reason for that is because without you, you don't have that life. If you're not there, your life isn't there. So you need to be there for your life to be there. And because of that, you're always going to be the most important person in your life. And because of that, you do need to prioritize yourself. You need to prioritize your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health. You need to prioritize your well-being because you're always going to be the most important person in your life. However, you're never going to be the only person in your life. And that could now be if you've got kids, if you've got a partner, if you've got, your parents might be looking after, or friends that you care about. And then beyond that, you've got your community that you live in, and, trying to do what you can to make sure your community is a good, safe place to live in. A nice clean place to live in, not littering, not throwing your rubbish on the streets. You shouldn't be throwing your rubbish on the streets. I see some of you. Don't throw your rubbish on the streets. There's bins. Use bins, or take it home and put it in the bin if you can't see a bin. But anyway, look at taking care of your community and doing things like that. And then the broader picture, of course, society and the world at large, and just the general kind of care that we have for those that we might not know. And that could be things like, donating to charities, or, helping out with various things like that. So you're always going to be the most important person in your life, but you're never going to be the only person in your life. So you do need to prioritize yourself, but you need to prioritize yourself and take care of yourself so that you can better take care of others. Because I feel like when you do focus too much on yourself and only doing the things that benefit you and only doing things that further your interests and never do anything that helps anybody else, I do believe that leads to misery. Now, some people might disagree with that. I'm sure some people would. But for me, I feel like it's important to always be useful, to always be useful. And you could be useful in a million different ways. There's not one way to be useful, of course, depending on, your abilities and what your skill levels are and what you're good at and the knowledge that you have, the things that, the knowledge that you have. Let me speak properly. I can't be useful if I can't speak properly. You're going to have no use for this video if you can't even speak properly. But anyway, the knowledge that you have, the things that you learn, the things that you do, if it's only to benefit you, then it becomes like this self-serving circle jerk that never really goes anywhere. And it's like, to me, that feels like, what's the point? What's the point of learning things if you're not using that knowledge to, of course, need to help yourself, but in helping yourself, you also need to be helping others. What's the point of doing anything if it's only going to benefit you? It just feels like this big circle jerk of, self-serving circle jerk. And to me, that sounds like misery to me, because like you become so singular and alone in everything, like if you act in a way where, if you have a group of friends and you act in a way where nothing you do ever helps them, or maybe help isn't always the right word, because that sounds like, giving them money, or, I don't necessarily even mean that, but even just terms of the friendship that you have, like nothing you do benefits the friendship. If they're always the ones that are given to you in that friendship, whether that's time, whether that's efforts, or whatever it may be, if they're always the ones that are given to you and you're never doing anything, eventually people just like leave you alone. It's like, why bother? And I feel that's the same for any kind of relationship. If you might have had experiences like this where you've been in a relationship where you might have been the one that's just giving and giving and giving and giving and giving, and there's never anything coming back. And I don't necessarily mean like transactional, because that's not really it, but just in terms of feeling like it's worthwhile, when there's never anything coming back like that, eventually you just kind of feel like, well, I'll just leave this guy alone. Maybe I'll leave this person alone. Maybe I'll just go somewhere else, And so if you're the one that's never ever doing anything to benefit or help others in any kind of way, then yeah, I do feel like that ultimately will just lead to misery, because you'll be alone, like alone. And for some people, you might be thinking, well, that sounds great. And far be it from me to tell you what you should and shouldn't like. But for me, I do feel like that kind of loneliness is not something that people are really about. Even if you don't have like immediate friends in your life, or you don't maybe have like family around and things like that, there's something that you're a part of, whether that's your local community, whether that's an online community, or whether that's like a social community and something that you have a hobby in. There's something that you're a part of that involves other people. If you run a business, you need people to buy from your business. And because you need people to buy from your business, you need to do things that, helps them. Otherwise, why are they buying from you? If there's no tangible or even just any kind of a ball benefit for somebody to buy from you, is it the company that you provide? Is it the stories that you can tell them? The reason why you might find people go to a particular barbershop that's like 15, 20 miles from where they live is because of the atmosphere that place creates, or the reason why you might go to a certain place because of the atmosphere they create, even though there's like millions of places you can go that might even be cheaper. So like, I do feel like when you solely focus just on you and only ever do anything that only ever benefits you, and nothing you do ever helps anybody, eventually people just start leaving you alone, and you would be lonely. And that to me just sounds like misery. So yeah, you need to focus on yourself. You need to prioritize yourself, because you are always going to be the most important person in your life, but you're never going to be the only person in your life. So as you're prioritizing yourself, you cannot forget about other people. You still need to be useful to not just yourself, but to the people around you, to the people close to you, to whether it's your local community, to your online communities, to your social communities, and to the world at large, and just not being a tyrant and an arsehole, trampling around on the earth, trampling around, gallivanting the earth, just being an arrogant prick. Nobody wants to, nobody likes that guy. So yeah, prioritize yourself, but don't forget about the other people. Prioritize yourself, but don't forget about everybody else. So be selfish, just don't be inconsiderate. So yeah, that's that's how I took it. That's how I interpreted it. But let me know what you think. I rambled for nearly 10 minutes, I think. So hopefully that made some kind of sense. Hopefully this video was useful to you. And if not, my bad. But anyway, till whenever, if ever, peace.